What's going on, everybody? Today I've got a little bit of a different video for you guys. We're going to take a look at our Discord server's collaborative travels map. I want to start by giving a huge shout out to Jadu and Norton for putting this together. They were the ones who were organizing this, and Norton found out a great way to compile everybody's submissions to the map. It was super awesome of them to put this together for the server, and the results are really cool. So let's take a look at the map. So this is the overall map. You can already see it's so satisfying to look at this. So we're going to pour over this data, go through all the sections of the world here, and I'll just explain how we did this as well. So we had 59 total submissions overall. They used mapchart.net to compile all the data, and this is their world subdivision map. Now, mapchart's a little bit strange with subdivisions. They have some kind of weird ones, some you can't really see. It's kind of hard to get the microstates on there, so it was a little bit wonky working with this map. But overall, it worked out really well, and it was very nice to compile all our data. So yeah, as I said, we had 59 total submissions, and this scale over on the right side of the screen shows how many server members have been to each subdivision. So the highest was 43 of the 59. I think that was New York, which had the most. We also have this master spreadsheet, which we're going to look at as well, and I'm just checking that New York had 43 visits. That was the most. And that sort of leads me to my next point, which is that most of our server members are from the United States and Europe. As you can probably tell in the map where most people have visited, that's the US and Europe. So just to drive home this point, I'm here at the CG Chord server insights to show you guys which country people are from. I'll zoom in a little bit here. That didn't really help, but you can see that just over half are from the US. This is not nearly everybody in the server. This is what, like 550 total. We have over 1,600 members in the server, so this is just sort of a rough estimate. But you can see that half the people are from the US, and then other, I'm assuming, is mostly just a bunch of European countries. So pretty much everyone, US and Europe. Okay, back to the map itself. I want to take a look at the US first and just show this, because this is where we've had the most subdivision visits. As I said before, New York was the most with 43 out of 59 visiting New York, which makes sense. Very populated state. New York City, biggest city in the country. Huge tourist destination, especially for foreigners too. So it makes sense that a lot of our Europeans would have also been to New York. If they've been to the US, it's almost certain that they've been to New York. You can also see this is very much similar to the distribution of population in the US, which of course makes sense. Illinois, Florida, Texas, California all have lots of visits. A lot of states on the East Coast as well, big tourist centers, Boston, Philly, DC and all that. So domestically and internationally, East Coast hotspot of tourism, and then you get the big cities, Chicago, Florida. You get a lot of people go to the beaches in Florida. You got all the stuff in Texas. California speaks for itself. So yeah, this is pretty self-explanatory, but it's just cool to see this visualized as well. Now let's scroll up a little bit to Canada, and what might jump out at you right away is nobody has been to Saskatchewan. In the 59 people who submitted, not a single one, which was a little bit surprising. So what we can gather from that is that of the 59 people, nobody has done the whole Trans-Canada road trip, so that's interesting. We also didn't have any visitors to the territories, which is just something of note. But you can see again, Ontario, most populous province, has the most visitors. British Columbia is higher up as well, which makes sense. Quebec there too, of course. But yeah, overall for Canada, just found it kind of funny. Saskatchewan didn't have any visitors, and that does remind me that we are most likely going to keep this running for a while, keep adding new submissions to the map, and do this again in the future. So make sure to hop in the Discord server for not only this, but all kinds of geography games, content, all kinds of stuff. We also had a decent number of people visit Alaska. Let me check on the actual number there. Okay, so we had 8 people visit Alaska, which is pretty interesting. Just looking at the people, these are all Americans, I think. Oh, that also reminds me, I should show my specific travel map to show you guys sort of my contributions to this specifically. Man, there's so many things to talk about in this. I just love stuff like this, and it's super cool to me, especially when it's related to my friends and our community in the Discord server, so this is just fantastic. I hope you guys enjoy this. Okay, this is my map that I submitted, and according to the spreadsheet, I had 144 total subdivisions, which was the 8th most, actually. I'm pretty happy with that, but as you can probably tell from the map, a lot of those are from the US, and then also the UK, too. So I've been to 47 US states, all but Vermont, Alaska, and then Hawaii, which is cut off of the map, but every other state I've been to, and then of course the 2 big Canadian provinces, BC, Ontario, I've been to. So if we come over to Europe here, I'll zoom in a bit here. I've traveled pretty extensively throughout the UK. As you probably know, I am British. I have a lot of family there, especially in Yorkshire, so I've traveled all around this area, done lots of road trips and things all throughout my life. Also have a couple in Iceland, one from when I went to the Dublin airport. Got some France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy's, then Stockholm when I went there last summer, and then I also have been to Uusimaa in Finland, which is where Helsinki and its airport is. You guys maybe know why I was there. Oh, I forgot to mention also Liechtenstein I've been to. I forget what I marked down. I think I only put Vaduz on there, and I think that's the only subdivision I've been to, but Liechtenstein was kind of weird on map chart with their subdivisions, so I don't really know what the deal is with that. I just marked Vaduz, and I was like, yeah, that's where I've been. So yeah, Liechtenstein's a kind of cool one. Bruges, I took a day trip out to Bruges almost 13 years ago now as a kid. Vatican City as well. So yeah, that's my contribution to the map here. Alright, well, returning back to everybody's map, let's take a look at Mexico next really quick here. So we can see that not too many visits to Mexico, mostly just a handful each of the ones that have any visits. A lot of missing subdivisions scattered about, but you can see here that Quintana Roo has the most, and that's because Cancun is there. Pretty popular destination, especially for Americans to head to. Like, not even the ones on the border of the US have more visits. Like, everyone's just flying to Cancun, like Ted Cruz. Coming down to Central America, got a few in Guatemala, you know, Costa Rica, Panama, all these scattered around, but again, not too many, honestly. Can see Puerto Rico is a little bit more than others, but not too much else in the Caribbean has been visited. And then we come down to South America, and we got some work to do here. Almost nobody has been to any countries here. Only a handful of people have been to, like, Chile, Argentina. I think only one person had been to Argentina, and that was Norton. So really interesting that we don't have many South America visitors. You can see the people who did go to South America. We had a few go to Santiago and Chile. And yeah, that's really it. Just a couple random other ones, but we're missing a lot of South Americas. If you've been to South America, submit your map. We'd love to fill this out with more. I forgot to show Hawaii, but it has a decent number of visits. That's, what is that? Yeah, somewhere in the teens. That's pretty good. I've never been there, but I want to. All right, I think that's just about it for the Americas. Yeah, we covered everything there, so let's check out Europe now. Let's see what's going down here. So, pretty interestingly, you can see that London has a really high number. Tons more visits than anything else in the UK, which of course makes sense. Huge destination, not only for Europeans, but international visits as well. So a lot of Americans who go to Europe, a lot of them go to London. And honestly, I'm actually super happy with how filled out the Europe map is. I think pretty much every subdivision in a lot of countries has been visited. France, it looks like, is filled up. Germany, Denmark, all of these is really amazing. All West and Central Europe. Yeah, I think Italy as well. Yeah, Italy's all filled in too. Almost all of Spain. Oh yeah, look at this. Poland as well has been all visited, but it's very interesting. You can see the national border. You can see where Germany and Poland split. The color differences. It's really interesting. A lot more people have been to places in Germany than Poland. Impressively, I think every subdivision in the Baltics was filled out. That was helped by a couple people, Trilotis, and then one other who I'm forgetting, who were from the Baltics and have traveled extensively around there. That was really cool to see as well. Looks like Norway's pretty much filled in. Yeah, everything, almost all of Sweden. Oh, I'm so happy with how the Europe map looks. It looks great. Iceland as well, I think, is just missing this northwest section, which is too bad. Oh, and then Greenland as well. Greenland has no visitors, which, I mean, makes sense, but it would be kind of cool if anyone's been to Greenland to add something to this map. And then, amazingly, someone has been to Svalbard. I'm actually not sure who that was. Let's check who that was. Alright, I searched for Svalbard, and that was Repelars. Repelars has been to Svalbard. Amazing. That's super cool. But once you start getting away from West, North, and Central Europe, things start to fizzle out a little bit. You can see Russia is missing a lot. Not many people have been to Russia here. Mostly just Moscow and St. Petersburg. But even them, they don't have that many visits. The Balkans kind of suffering as well. Greece has a bit, and then just some scattered things, Croatia. But again, yeah, not too many here either, so that's kind of lacking area. Turkey has a couple of visitors, but again, not too many. Once you head out more into the Middle East, Central Asia, there's just nothing. No one's been to these countries here, at least not of the 59 submissions. And I'm noticing this year in Russia, someone's been to Siberia. That's very cool. Let's check out North Africa, the Middle East as well. We've had a couple people travel around Morocco, which is really cool as well. I think there's a couple Tunisias in there. Yep, looks like it. Cyprus has a couple visits, and then Israel, Egypt as well, big tourist hubs. Jordan has a couple. UAE, Saudi Arabia too. The Middle East has had a few visitors, but yeah, not too many overall. I think you can see Dubai here is a little bit darker, of course. Makes sense, makes sense. Now, let's come over to Asia. We do have a couple people who have Asian heritage, especially Chinese and Indian. I don't know that they're necessarily from those countries, but they have family there. They are of that ethnicity. So we do have actually a pretty comprehensive India-Pakistan map here as well. Pretty good number of submissions here. China as well. I know that a couple people who submitted have been to China to see family, so that's pretty good as well. Really nice, actually. South Korea has a good number of visits. I believe we had one Korean submit. And then Japan. I don't think we have anybody from Japan, but some people have been there visiting. Interesting to see that Hokkaido has a little bit more than some of the others, but you can see Tokyo areas kind of showing up a bit darker as well. Looking at Taiwan is kind of interesting too. You can see how all of them are on the west coast, none of the east ones, which is fascinating because a lot of the cities are all on the west coast. East, it gets very mountainous. I think that's just really interesting to see how well this map lines up with both population distribution, the demographics of our server, tourist hotspots. I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense that it happens that way, but it's cool to see it visualized. Alright, taking a look at the rest of Asia, we got Indochina. Not many visitors here. Bangkok, I think, has a little bit of a darker color there. You can see that. But yeah, not too many here as well. A couple Myanmars, which is cool. Vietnam as well, a couple Cambodias. Come down to Indonesia, Malaysia here. We have a couple people who have been to Bali, which again is a big tourist spot in Indonesia. Malaysia, we had a couple only on the peninsula, no one on Borneo. For the Philippines, we had at least one person who's Filipino submit. I know that Rumi has been to Palawan and some other places around Manila, so I think those are all from him. So coming down to Oceania here, here's Australia, and you can see right away Tasmania. No one's been there, which is interesting. We did have a couple Australians submit, but none of them have been to Tas. Again, it makes sense. New South Wales a little bit darker, the most populous state. New Zealand as well, got a good number of submissions for, but not really noticing any specific trends here necessarily. I guess Wellington is a slight shade darker than the others. Auckland might be as well, but yeah, not too much of a pattern here. Coming out to the islands out here, it's kind of hard to see, but I think this is Fiji. We had a couple people go to Fiji, which is really cool. I'd love to head out to any of these islands here, but looks like Fiji's pretty much the only one that you can see here anyway. I think Norton's been to Micronesia, which is amazing as well. I don't think that's really super visible on the map here, unfortunately. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Sri Lanka, we didn't look at Sri Lanka. We had a couple visitors there. You can see, I think maybe just one or two people have been, and you can see they did sort of a loop around the Colombo area through the mountains here too. So last thing we haven't checked on is Sub-Saharan Africa, which is expectedly quite sparse. There's a couple scattered ones in, is that Togo there? We had Nigeria as well, a couple. Gabon, someone's been to. I believe it was Shluti who's been on a lot of big African trips. I think most of the subdivisions in here along this line are from Shluti, all through like Zimbabwe, Malawi, places like that. Really amazing that those have been visited for the map, so this is awesome to have. Had a relatively good number in Tanzania, Kenya as well, big safari hotspots, and then South Africa has the most in Africa here, which again makes sense, one of the most populous and popular destinations in Africa. Had some Namibias, Botswanas. Yeah, super cool to see this, but again, we're missing a ton of Sub-Saharan Africa. Pretty much every country has not been visited. No one's been to Antarctica. That's kind of too bad. It would be cool if someone has been there. And did I miss anything else? I think that's pretty much everything we can see on the map here. So let's look at the spreadsheet quickly now too. There's a lot of statistics and things to pour over, so let's look at that. So this list shows everybody who submitted and all of the subdivisions they had. So Meatloaf had the most with 279. That's insanely many. I think Meatloaf was one of the ones who's been to a lot of the Baltics. You can see all of this: Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, tons of those out here. So he's been to a lot, I think exclusively within Europe, if I remember right, but he's been to so much of Europe. It's really impressive. Rounding out the top 10 was Clemens Serchik, who's been to a lot, especially through Europe here, it looks like. Shluti was in third, who I mentioned was one of our Africa visitors who's been to a lot throughout Sub-Saharan Africa. Lunacy Echo in fourth place, a pretty famous world traveler in the community. He's been to a lot of random places all around the globe. Super cool. He's got a lot of unique ones. Norton, one of the people who helped put this all together, has been to a lot. Another famous world traveler in our community. Trilotus, the Baltic traveler. Simi, you guys know Simi. Simi from Czech Republic. He's been to a lot of Europe as well. Myself, as I mentioned, most of mine are from the UK and the US. Jake Lyons and Carpographer, the last two in the top 10, who have also been a lot of places around the world. Very well-traveled people as well. I'll just slowly scroll down this full list of all 59 people who submitted. Again, thank you everybody who submitted and participated in this. It's so cool to have this data visualized. So this is a list of people's uniquely visited subdivisions. That means they were the only person who submitted to have been to any of these here. So Shluti has been to 76 unique subdivisions. Again, a lot of those are going to be in those African countries, but then also just kind of scattered all across the country too. You can see some Colombias there and all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, I moved myself to the right side of the screen so you can see this a bit better. Kind of looks weird because I'm facing this way, but you know what? It's gonna have to make do. What I was gonna say though is that this is not perfectly correlated to the total number of subdivisions you've been to, because I was in 8th place for total number, but in terms of unique subdivisions, I've only been to 2, and that was Plymouth and Warrington in the UK. I don't know how I managed to be the only person who's been there, but you know what? We'll take it. So let's look at this list and see some other interesting things. I can see here that Superpoop has been to the United Nations Disengagement Observer Post in Syria. Now, I believe, if I'm remembering right from my high points video, that that's at the top of Mount Herman. So that's really interesting, actually, that he's been there. The only one to have seen that. Lumen has a unique one in the Dominican Republic here, I believe. Banana Peel Seal, one of our India visitors, has a unique India. Skydiving Ferret here has 2 unique Russias. I believe that he said that was when he took a train from Moscow to St. Petersburg, so he's the only one who's done that. And yeah, just kind of random, scattered, random subdivisions that people have been to. Axel had a couple of uniques in Spain, and yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see this stuff. I don't know what subdivision this is here that Undead Goat's been to, but congrats, whatever that is, you've been there. And Undead Goat was the Korea visitor. Yeah, you can see a lot of Koreas. I think he was the only one. Okay, so this is the heat map broken down into just raw numbers showing the total number of visits for each one. So as I said before, New York had the most visits. Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia were all the top 5, all US states, which makes sense. They're also all on the East Coast, which again makes sense. I'm happy Illinois is 6th place. We'll take that. We're tied with Massachusetts here, and we beat out London as well, which is pretty cool. I'm happy with that. London is the most that wasn't in the US. Bayern in Germany was pretty high up. That's Bavaria, if you don't know. Ile-de-France, which is where Paris is. Yep, makes sense. Couple more random ones. Nord-Holland, Hessen in Germany. So yeah, big populous European subdivisions too, high up on the list. Lazio in Italy, which I believe is where Rome is. Yes, because I've been there. Okay. Yeah, that's where Rome is. Alright, let's scroll down to see the least visited subdivisions. I'm kind of curious. I haven't actually checked this, so a lot with just a few, but let's see the ones with only one. Were there any states in the US with only one? I'm curious. Let's see, I don't think so. Gonna go all the way down for US. No. Doesn't look like it. We had a lot of one in UK, which I had a couple of. Nice, Plymouth. At least 2 people have been to every single US state of the 59 submissions. It's amazing. Okay, I moved myself back over because I'm not blocking anything, so this shows the number of unique countries that each person visited. Again, as I mentioned, Lunacy Echo has been to a lot of places that no one else has been. 17 unique countries. Shaluti as well, who's been to a lot of South America and Africa on our map, has a lot here. Norton, who I thought he said was the only one with Argentina. Maybe someone else has been. That's cool, at least. And only 12 people overall even had a unique country at all, so that's kind of cool as well. Oh, this is interesting. Jake was the only one who's been to Brazil. How is that possible? Wow. We need more South America visitors, guys. Hop in the server. Submit your South America travels. Alright, well, that's pretty much all I've got in relation to this map. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was very different from any video I've made in the past, but I hope you guys enjoyed this look at our travels. Again, make sure to hop in the Discord server to submit to this map, and also just to join a great community of geography fans. We got over 1,600 people in there, so it's a lot of fun. Hop in. I'm pretty active in there as well, so come and say hi. We'd love to have you join us. Alright, guys, thanks so much for watching this. Make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe, and I will see you next time.